you had 7 months to get the abortion. I mean, if you're waiting until the last, I don't know. Yeah, if you're waiting until the last minute to decide.
What if it's a medical issue?
But it's a medical issue that involves another potential life at least.
What if the baby's really fucked up? What if it has like two heads?
Yeah, I got no problem with that. Kill that little monster.
Ugly monster. It's like... What's up, my man?
Hey.
How's it been hanging?
It has been hanging. I got that sucralose in. Man, that stuff is really good, actually.
Oh, come on now.
I don't think I've ever had it.
Who do you think you're dealing with?
I had not ever had it. I got it, and I remember you said like it doesn't take a little bit, so I was like, all right. I had my cup. I was like, I guess a little bit's like half a dropper full.
Oh, no. It's not CBD, bro.
Yeah, it was...
It's more like SARMs as far as potency goes.
But I figured my dosing, God, it pains me to say that. Like, talking about my dosing being how much sucralose I'm taking because I don't want to put on weight.
0 calories, baby.
If I start eating sweet stuff, then I start craving sweet stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, if I just cut it out altogether after, like, 3 days,
how do you do that?
I don't really crave it. I generally don't. I generally don't have any sweets. I'll have coffee with sugar in the morning, and then usually through the day, like, I'll just eat my normal food. It's a matter of just laziness. Like, I'll run out of sweet stuff, and I just don't want to go to the store to get any. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to clean myself out, cut it out. And then, like, once I get past that 3 or 4 day period, then I'm not even thinking about it anymore.
Dude, they've got so many sugar-free options now. Like G. Hughes has a whole line of sauces that are amazing. They're like 5 calories per tablespoon. Like, the best one is the sweet Thai chili. It has like a sweet Thai chili sauce. It's incredible, dude. I put it on everything. Chicken and rice or chicken and rice noodles. It's great on both. It's great. It's great with everything.
Stuff like that it's a gateway drug for me. I'll start fucking around with like some healthy sweet option, and then the next thing I'm like, I want it to be extra good. I'm gonna add a little bit of real sugar in there this time. And then the next thing I know, I'm getting a half gallon of ice cream and a whole pie, and then I'll just eat it all in like 2 days.
So you're not ideological enough when it comes to food.
No, I'm not. I'm very impulsive.
Anyway, this isn't really a food podcast. We are the Exploding Star Podcast. Welcome back, episode 62. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Tony, good to see you, buddy.
Hey.
How's your week been?
You too. It's been fantastic. Getting a lot of work done. Like I said, trying out my new sweeteners.
Exciting.
Got to listen to some of the January 6th hearing, the committee hearings. That was interesting.
I saw the new footage. There was some new footage they had released. The rest of it I've heard before. I don't want to sit there and listen to frickin' Liz Cheney talk about dumb shit.
We're going to tonight.
Speaking of white nationalists assaulting things, there was a story today of this group of white nationalists arrested in Idaho.
Yes, I did see that. I haven't really looked into it much past the headline. Well,
the trending topic related to this story was how this is basically a setup, of course. It's all a conspiracy.
Yeah, no, I was scrolling through Reddit while there was on the Tim Pool subreddit, there was a post where it was basically a circle of the Spider-Mans pointing at one another. And it was the Patriot
Spider-Man
Front, but they were all FBI agents.
Was that today?
Yeah, it was just a little bit ago. I was looking through there, but I guess that's the right-wing narrative, is that they were like all feds, and this is kind of just a psyop, maybe so to speak, or just a...
It's not even logically consistent. Like, their theory doesn't even hold. It doesn't even make sense.
Well, I guess Biden's trying to make the right look bad, so he sets up these nonsense busts of groups. Like, he makes the group so he can bust the group so he can steal another election or something. I don't know.
It wasn't like the leader of the Patriot Front there? Like the leader.
Yeah, he's probably a Fed too. I don't know.
It's pretty funny, though. Tim Pool constantly outdoes himself. Like, his posts are hilarious. It's crazy how many people like follow him. I wonder how many of them follow him ironically, though. Has to be at least half.
Yeah. I don't know.
There's not too many influencers out there dumber than me. But I think Tim Pool definitely takes the cake, man. He is, Dave Rubin levels.
I don't know, because when I post on Tim Pool's subreddit, I don't get very many people responding back like in agreement. It's all like very motivated vitriol towards me. Everyone that's on, at least the people on his subreddit, seem to be really into the project that Tim Pool has going on.
project is that, I wonder?
I don't know. It's a good question.
He is a psyop. He's basically a psyop. His whole thing is like dragging people to the right. Anyway, we do have topics. We do have topics to get into today. I don't know what I'm sitting here bullshitting for.
Oh, you want to pull that clip up? Yeah, so I just noticed, I guess as earlier, I don't know, today or a couple days ago, that there's like a tentative agreement reached by a bipartisan group of senators to propose some new gun legislation in the wake of the Uvalde massacre. So
senators reached bipartisan deal on gun safety. They got 10 Republicans on board, so it can't be that great.
Yeah, it is not. So I'll just go over it.
The agreement put forth by 10 Republicans and 10 Democrats and endorsed by Biden and top Democrats includes enhanced background checks for under 21s only, it looks like.
Yeah, the legislation has increased mental health resources. And like I say, this is, I guess, it's a tentative agreement. It looks like something's going to get done, but they haven't really released any specifics on what each of these things mean. So I don't know, it's really just kind of speculation at this point. But yeah, so the agreement is said to increase mental health resources. So whatever that means. I don't know. This is something that we talked about before. Mental health it's such a nebulous, kind of like amorphous term that it can mean pretty much anything. And I'm kind of worried that it's going to mean absolutely nothing. You know, I would like to see better support for families on if they're going to do something, if they're going to spend money on something like this. Like I could see putting money towards helping, like providing better mental health services for people on Medicaid. I know that's something that Medicaid really falls short on right now, and
they don't pay for mental health services at all, I don't think.
They do, but you're really limited on what you can get, like how often you can see the person, and it's difficult to find a practitioner that will take Medicaid because they just pay so little for the mental health checks, whatever, therapists, psychiatrists.
I know a lot of like preachers and shit will take federal money for counseling services. I know that's a pretty prominent scam.
Yeah, I knew a guy actually. He was a licensed pastoral counselor.
Impressive.
Yeah, impressive indeed. He's a smart guy actually. He's a really smart guy. I enjoyed talking to him. Okay, so that's the first one. Second, improve school safety and support for students. I cannot see this being anything other than just a giant giveaway to the police. You know, just extra funding for municipal police departments so they can have cops with body armor and like them full, what was the game? No, I'm thinking, all right, did you ever play the Far Cry games?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
a couple of them.
I think it was Far Cry 3. I'm sure it's some of the other ones. I played Far Cry 3 a lot. And there was like these certain guys, you would go to these certain outposts, and they would be like in this full bomb suit, and they would just be like, they're like these tanks, and they would slowly walk towards you, and they'd pull like either a giant belt-fed machine gun off of them or a flamethrower, and they were like really hard to kill. But I'm imagining that that's what they're going to do in each school. Have like a cop full bomb suit with a flamethrower to protect the kids. Keeps mentally unfit and dangerous criminals from getting guns. This is the language that they use.
That sounds legit.
I don't know. Okay, yeah. Oh, is that what you're going to do? You're going to keep mentally unfit and dangerous criminals from getting guns?
It says provide funding for states to enact red flag laws. It allows authorities to temporarily confiscate guns from people deemed to be dangerous as well, whatever that
So
means.
that's the last thing. So they're going to provide incentives for states to enact red flag laws. And then on the federal level, they're going to change. I don't know if it's really changing. Well, because like already, if you're adjudicated to be mentally incapable, handicapped, whatever, you can't get a gun. If you're a dangerous criminal, you know, generally defined dangerous as felon or domestic violence, you already can't get a gun. One thing that they are going to do is if you're 21, you're over 18, you're under 21, and you go to buy a semi-automatic rifle, they will now look at your juvenile record. Now, after you're over 21, they'll no longer look at your juvenile record. But if you're under 21, they will. So I think that's the big change that they're talking about to the federal gun legislation, aside from giving money to cops and mental health, whatever that is. But typical Biden trash. It's throwing out a bunch of stuff that sounds good to people that don't know what the existing laws are, and it fundamentally is going to do nothing or next to nothing.
It says in the article here, for the first time, it would extend to dating partners a prohibition on domestic abusers having guns. So it sounds to me like domestic abuse wasn't prohibitive previously at all, according to this New York Times article about this.
Yeah, no, you just couldn't buy one if you had like a pending domestic charge, and you had to wait until the domestic charge, I guess, went off your record, you were off probation on it. is how it used to go.
Also,
And
if you
there
have
are
a pending charge, then you couldn't get one.
If you have a pending, or if you're on some sort of probation, even if it's a misdemeanor domestic violence charge, then you couldn't buy a gun. And that was on the federal level. Now there were certain states that had enacted other laws, like Kentucky. If you had a domestic charge, you couldn't. I don't think you could also carry a gun either. So it would keep you from being able to have or get a concealed carry permit, which doesn't matter anymore because they got rid of concealed carry in Kentucky. So
yeah, you could just carry around a gun no matter what now, right? Concealed,
as God intended.
You can carry around a concealed weapon.
Yeah, that's what they got rid of, because we always had open carry. You could always carry one on your hip like a cowboy.
So what do you think? Are you upset about this?
No, it does nothing. I feel like they could have went a little bit further, which I don't know. I hate meaningless
Slippery slope.
attempt. Yeah, slippery slope. But if you're going to do something, just do something. This is meaningless. I hate pandering to people, and I hate tokenism. Just putting stuff out there that doesn't really do anything. Either don't put it out there or pass something that does something. I'd really like to see the mental health thing taken seriously. I mean, that would kind of be like a real revamping of our healthcare system in general, which is just not going to happen. But
that sounds very anti-freedom, Tony.
Yeah, it is. I hate freedom.
Unprofitable.
Aside from that, I would like to see the universal background checks on private sales. I think that would be an interesting move that could be made. On private sales, you have to go through a registration process just like you would do with a car.
Well, as someone who can't have a gun, I say take them all. Confiscate all the guns. Because I believe in fairness, and I think it's bullshit, frankly.
And then only criminals like me will have guns.
I mean, people will just print their own guns. They don't care about this.
No, they don't care.
Salvador Ramos would have figured something out. There is something interesting about the whole making the guns look cool thing. What if you make the guns, instead of looking cool as shit, like fucking AR-15s, badass, AK-47, Viva la Revolucion. But what if we just make these manufacturers, Smith & Wesson, what if we force them to produce guns that look like shit? Fucking bright pink and like have like tits on them or something. I don't know. Make them look.
There's a couple guns I'm thinking of that look like they're kind of notorious for being really poorly designed. They just look like shit. I think what is it? There's some sort of Chinese assault rifle, and it's just like, it's real blocky and square. It's just ugly. And
yeah, there you go.
My understanding, like people that shoot, it's uncomfortable to shoot. Like it doesn't sit well, and the proportions are just kind of weird. Like basically just bullpups. If you're going to get a semi-automatic rifle, it has to be a bullpup, because everybody hates bullpup rifles. They suck. They're just weird looking. And yeah, I think that takes away the coolness factor. If I'm going to go shoot somebody, I want to go feel like Rambo when I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I want to be a badass. I'm going to tie a bandana around my head, and then, I'm going to get 2 semi-autos and just do one of those.
Bear crawl your way through the door of the school.
If I'm going to live the dream, I want to live it in style. And if you can't do it in style, why do it at all?
That's right.
Words of wisdom for the kids.
I think it's a good proposal. I should call Biden.
Call him up.
What else? January 6th hearings. I didn't really watch this.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. It's kind of the same damning case that they've been presenting, but it's interesting to see the reactions to like Trump's reactions, and to kind of have everything compiled all in one place. You're getting like a real understanding of kind of the minute by minute and what was going on behind the scenes, what the conversations were between the people that were involved, that were perpetrating this act. But you want to go ahead and play the first one?
Oh, sure.
It was watched by nearly 20 million people, or over 20 million people, broadcast by every national news channel except Fox. They must have not got the memo, I'm assuming.
Huh. They didn't broadcast it?
The Fox did not broadcast this. Now, Fox Business did, but Fox News Channel was the one news channel that did not broadcast this.
Well, Fox Business is more of an actual news channel, because, the rich fucking Wall Street people who watch Fox Business need the real news. They don't need the bullshit,
Sean Hannity yelling about Mexicans.
I made it clear I did not agree with the idea of saying the election was stolen and putting out this stuff, which I told the president was bull.
It affected my perspective. I respect Attorney General Barr, so I accepted what he was saying.
The former president firing back in a social media post Friday, attacking his former attorney general as a coward and claiming his daughter had long since checked out on following the election results.
This is Trump replying back to some of the allegations. I think, interestingly, so Ivanka Trump, they played some of her testimony at this, and like she was saying that she was not buying, along with everyone else, was not buying the election was stolen narrative. And now there's discord in the house of Trump. Trump's getting upset at his own daughter. Have you ever heard of Benny Thompson? So he's the chair of the committee, and he's definitely been coming out pretty hard swinging, and it's been refreshing. I was really expecting the language to be, I guess,
Pussified?
the tone pussified, that they were speaking very politically, and they were trying to be
Not in the house, buddy.
understanding of their colleagues or whatever. But yeah, Rep. Benny Thompson, he was going hard, and he's got a great Southern accent, so he's just been a pleasure to listen to.
Aimed at overturning the presidential election, aimed at throwing out the votes of millions of Americans, your votes, your voice in our democracy, and replacing the will of the American people with his will to remain
Sounds like
in
Morgan
power
Freeman.
after his term ended. Donald Trump was at the center of this conspiracy, and ultimately, Donald Trump, the President of the United States, spurred a mob of domestic enemies of the Constitution to march down the Capitol and subvert American democracy. Any legal jargon you hear about seditious conspiracy, obstruction of an official proceeding, conspiracy to defraud the United States boils down to this. January 6th was the culmination of an attempted coup, a brazen attempt, as one rioter put it shortly after January 6th, to overthrow the government.
So, as a result, commentators and right-wingers have been accusing this hearing of being biased because of language like this that Representative Thompson and some others have been using.
Biased?
Yes.
Biased
So
against
I'm not
a coup attempt, I guess you could accuse it of.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they understand what the word biased means.
Right. I think you're a little biased against the Nazis, Tony.
Maybe. I think, I was watching a UFC fight the other day, and the referee seemed really biased towards the person that knocked the other person out.
Yeah.
You know? The scientists are biased in favor of round Earth over flat Earth. But I don't know. It's such a weird thing. This is something I've harped on quite a bit. This is what happens when you don't teach critical thinking in schools. You have people making arguments like this and not understanding what the word bias means, and just...
You know the real problem with these hearings? They're politicizing this whole thing. Problem.
Yeah. It is crazy that political things are politicized.
How did that affect your perspective about the election when Attorney General Barr made that statement?
It affected my perspective. I respect Attorney General Barr.
What does she have to do with anything?
So
She's a senior White House advisor, James.
Oh.
All right. First off, she is definitely a reptilian. I don't mean to be a misogynist, but there is something just not right with the dimensions of her face. You know, this is like the Fibonacci sequence. Something about it has gotten thrown off. And most likely it's because she is inhabited by a creature that crawled out of the hollow earth and inhabited her body and is working towards the further polarization of our society so that the reptilians can take over. Yeah. With Queen Elizabeth at their head.
The only thing left of the real Ivanka Trump is her skin.
Yeah,
just wearing her skin at this point.
That's a fact. That's not bias. That's facts. Go ahead, play the last one. This is so this was should be Trump's response to both of these. You know, everybody being disloyal.
That's the only thing interesting about this is Trump's response to it.
Yeah.
The former president firing back in a social media post Friday.
Why isn't she hot? She should be hot. She's just not. Something's just wrong with her face. You're right.
It is. It's the Fibonacci sequence. It's unconscious, but you always see it, and the proportions are just weird.
Attacking his former attorney general as a coward and claiming his daughter had long since checked out on following the election results.
I had caught a lot of this over the months. Bits and pieces here, but it's just kind of like a refresher course where I get to hear it all at the same time, all kind of packed into one. Very nice. The production quality is excellent, by the way.
Yeah, is it?
On the hearings, yeah, they did a good job. You know, multimedia, videos, little clips of this, you know, bits of testimony from court cases. So it was good.
There's nobody there. That nobody would showed up to it. That's the problem. Nobody that I wanted to hear from get grilled even appeared. They all fucking refused to show up, and they can't do anything. Like the House doesn't convict people. They can refer them to the Justice Department, but they can't refer Trump because he's a fucking president. Even if they could, they probably wouldn't. If this were fucking FDR's time, dude, they would have banned the Republican Party. Like, this is some straight up bullshit. These guys are about to take over the government, and they just orchestrated a coup attempt.
Yeah, and this is exactly what the Republican Party wanted to. So Benny Thompson explains, like, I think when he first started speaking, that they had initially argued to have an independent organization do the investigation and the hearings and all that stuff. I guess they wouldn't do the hearing, but to do the investigation. The Republicans fought against that. What happened? Now you have a Democrat-led committee leading the investigation. So Republicans can say now it was investigated, but if any damning thing comes out, they could say, well, yeah, it's the Democrats doing it. So everything's just made up, and it just gives them kind of carte blanche to just dismiss anything. I mean, not that it would matter anyways. I mean, do you think it would matter more if there was a third-party organization doing the investigating?
Like the Mueller report?
Or like the 9/11 report, something like the 9/11 report, where they had an independent body aside from Congress do the investigation and then report their findings to the committee.
It wouldn't make any difference, except we wouldn't get to watch it.
Well, you would still get to see the committee. I guess I'm just talking about the investigation leading up to this, because this was the committee doing the investigation, whereas they had initially argued to have a third party, non-Congress people.
Why are they doing an investigation? There's nothing we need to know. There's so much information that's just, we know what happened. We know exactly what happened.
Yeah.
The memo that was circulating was leaked to the press. Like, we know exactly what the plan was. They had this elaborate plan to fucking steal the election.
Yeah.
Then they attempted a fucking physical coup on the Capitol building.
Directed by the president. Like, specifically.
Yeah, it wasn't just, there was a bunch of, fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene was like texting, like all these people were texting Trump.
Sean Hannity,
Rudy Giuliani, everybody was involved. We know all
and
about it.
The crazy thing is, like, most of the people that we would consider to be kind of crazy conservatives in those behind the scene texts seem to be the voice of reason to Trump's, wild-eyed madman. Sean Hannity was saying, hey, we've got to stop this. You got to tell him to go home. Who was it? Some other Trump sycophants were trying behind the scenes to get him to like chill everybody out, and he just was not having it. He was
they were
full
wrong.
throttle, balls to the wall.
They were scared something bad was going to happen, and nothing's going to happen. They were wrong. Trump was right, and they were fucking wrong.
And that's why they're not in that position, because they don't have the balls. At the very least, Trump has got balls.
Fuck yeah.
He's got the balls to put somebody else out there to take the heat for him. But it still takes a little bit to
2021, we're going to attempt a coup on the most powerful empire in the history of the planet with nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
That takes balls. Sorry.
It does.
Because any other country, Trump would have been beheaded or like shot at the very least, thrown in a ditch or some shit.
Do you imagine if they just shipped him to Guantanamo and he got put through a military tribunal?
Dude, if
executed.
I was Biden, I'd have thrown him in fucking the brig.
He gets buried under an airport like Che Guevara. Put him down, just put a tarmac over top of him, and just forgotten about. We'll just never speak of this person again.
In a couple of days, he just gets huge fucking boils on his skin like the Russian dissidents get. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, his skin's falling off and he's green, but I don't know. Must have been something he ate.
Probably stressed out from the coup attempt. Fucking psycho.
I don't know. It would be awesome if the judicial system would use the same strong arm tactics with the powerful as they did with the poor and the people without power.
Right.
Send cops to their house, kick their fucking door in, shoot their dog, just start jacking shit. Just whatever they want out of the house, write down what they want to present to evidence, and keep the rest.
Last week we were talking about counter-revolutionaries. This is counter-revolutionary. Overthrowing the fucking American government. I mean, it's there because of the Revolution for Independence from England. I mean, this is counter-revolutionary, buddy. Throw Trump send him to the gulag.
Straight to the gulag. I am a bit of a philosophy nerd. I love having philosophical conversations. And I have noticed over the years this recurring pattern of people on the left getting really upset or suspicious when people start using hypotheticals and thought experiments. And I love them. I think they're great. I think they're incredibly useful. So I don't know. I got a couple of them together. Go through. We'll talk about them and see if there's any point to using these sorts of techniques to figure out what it is we're trying to figure out, or to see if these are just useless or being used as a means to obfuscate the people that the lefties are getting mad at.
So you're going after the left here. You're punching left. You're pulling a
I'm
Jimmy
punching
Dore.
left.
I see.
I am. I'm pulling a Dave Rubin. I'm not the intellectual Jimmy Dore type. Going straight for the bottom. All those intellectual philosophical philosophy students on Jimmy Dore's channel.
Now listen up. We're going to talk some philosophy, guys. I'll play this.
That was not a bad Dave Rubin.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Dave Rubin. Matt Bender on Tim Pool's show. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Why kill the baby in the process when you can just remove it?
Can you read that for me one more time?
So the important first section of Section 4A, General Rule, a healthcare provider has a statutory right under this act to provide abortion services and may provide abortion services, and that provider's patient has a corresponding right to receive such services without any of the following limitations or requirements. Section 9 reads, a prohibition on abortion after fetal viability when, in the good faith medical judgment of the treating healthcare provider, continuation of the pregnancy would pose a risk to the pregnant patient's life or health.
Sure. Okay. In terms of, and it even says in the good faith, what was it? The good faith medical decision of the doctor. Right. If you're carrying a baby up to 8 months, I mean, you want that baby. If it's a situation where it's the mother's health, then I mean, they wanted the baby.
Well, so if the woman's at 8 months pregnant, that's why I tweeted this.
Right.
And
that's a bit different from what you tweeted.
A woman is at 8 months pregnant. 8 months. So I'm saying the reason I tweeted that is because if a woman is at 8 months pregnant and she decides to terminate the pregnancy, aborting the baby.
No, you don't. You know, at 8 months pregnant, you don't decide to terminate. You have to terminate because of medical reasons. Something's going on.
So it's not a woman's decision.
What are you talking about?
Is it a woman's decision to terminate the pregnancy or not?
I mean, for her own health, I mean, it's between her and her doctor, right?
But are you saying it's not her decision?
What do you?
I said if a woman decides to terminate her pregnancy.
It's not like she just up and decided to go.
I didn't say she up and decided. I'm saying if a woman decides to terminate
because
her pregnancy.
Of medical issues.
For any reason.
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
but I think you have to add because of medical reasons. No, because it's important to be very specific that people are not carrying a fetus and for 8 months and then just going, I don't know. That's not happening. There's already restrictions that say there's already restrictions that say at that moment
that's good.
About Gosnell, right? Women were getting elected.
Are you familiar with Matt Bender? I know we know who Tim Pool is. He's a fan favorite.
I've seen him a couple times on Majority Report.
Okay, yeah, he's one of the Majority Report. He is the Matty. Did you ever watch Captain Planet?
Sure.
I brought this up before about how Majority Report is actually just like Captain Planet. So Sam Cedar is Captain Planet.
Okay.
And there's the blonde girl, Emma Vigland. Who was I forget which ring she had. There was the
fire.
There was the fire. There was the black guy. There was the white guy. Yeah. And then there was the little South American dude with the monkey, and that's Matt Bender. And his name in the show was Matty. See, that's all coming. Hart. Yeah. Okay.
He was the loser of the group.
It was. Okay, so Tim Pool, he gives this hypothetical abortion scenario. In cases of viability, if the life of the mother is at risk, why not put it into law that pregnancy will be terminated by delivering the baby early? This goes on for an agonizingly long amount of time. They actually talk about this for 45 minutes. But yeah, essentially the point Tim is trying to make with this hypothetical, the hypothetical he initially gives is, what if a woman walks in 8.5 months pregnant? She's going to the abortion clinic to get an abortion, and while she's in the waiting room, she starts having the baby. Like, what would you do at that point? And the point of this is he's trying to figure out, I guess, where you would draw the line on when you can have an abortion. And this was,
I might have seen a clip of this that. What you're
oh, really? Okay.
This is where he was talking about slitting the baby's throat when it comes out.
Yeah,
I saw this on Twitter. I saw this somewhere.
Yeah. No, but it's interesting, and I love these little thought experiments like this because I think that they're really useful. But sure. He was doing this in response to it was some bill, House Bill 1350 or something like that, where it would. Did I nail it? Maybe. Okay, I'll pretend I did. But it would legalize abortion up to essentially right before it starts to come out. And essentially the point Tim is making is that certain Democratic politicians and activists are pushing for legalization of abortion up to 9 months. Now, if we recognize that the term unborn baby is referring to a real thing, that at a certain point after viability, the baby has some rights, in a scenario like this, why wouldn't the law be written such that in issues of health of the mother, deliver the baby? The pregnancy is terminated. There's no unnecessary baby. Bender doesn't seem to get the hypothetical. Bender's only response, and this is the reason this goes on so long, is that women's choice and health of the mother is all that matters, with the refrain of the scenario that Tim brings up doesn't ever happen. First, it has happened. It's not often, but it certainly has and certainly will again in the future. It's just a numbers game. Second, Bender states after this that he feels the decision about what happens to a pregnancy is up to her and her doctor. Tim says, what about a baby just born or a baby coming out? Can you kill that baby? Tim astutely says, don't give me an absolute, then tell me not to bring up an edge point, which is the crux of this entire thing. People on the left making absolute statements, I would say probably for social brownie points or for ideological purity. And
well, no, Matt Bender's
either misunderstanding or dissembling when an edge point is brought up that shows the silliness of the absolute.
You're right. I agree with you, but I don't think that's what Bender was saying here, because under the current law, that's not happening. There's no edge case there because it's illegal. Once the baby's viable in the third trimester, you can't have an abortion anymore unless there's a medical reason. That's his point, I think.
Yeah. Well, no, I think in this they were specifically talking about this new legislation that was proposed, the House bill, whatever.
Oh, is this like a California thing, this bill or something to protect abortion rights?
I think it's Colorado. Colorado's seems to be the most open on abortion rights. But anyway, so do these hypotheticals have any utility in discourse? Is there a reason to have an intellectual discussion of these points?
Yeah, I love this. I think it's very important for debating topics to set up hypotheticals like this. The problem is, Tim Pool just wants a soundbite to throw on his fucking Twitter feed.
Yeah.
Matt Bender saying, we want to kill baby or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I listened to this whole, what the fuck? It's my motion detector's going off. Uh-oh. It's probably deer, hopefully. I was going to say, unfortunately, I didn't find this as a clip. I listened to this whole excruciating 3.5 hour podcast to find these little clips. It was quite the chore. But no, Bender, he stumbles and stutters worse than I do through this whole thing, and he might even been less intelligible. But go ahead and play the second clip, if you would, please. All right, so this is a clip from a few days after his appearance on Tim Pool's podcast, and they're all sitting back talking about some of the issues that got raised on the original podcast.
Scenario of what do you do to a baby when a pregnant woman who's 8 months pregnant walks into a abortion clinic, and while she's in the lobby getting ready to have her abortion, she actually delivers the baby? What do they do with the baby then? As if a living, breathing baby who's already been born into this world, if you would do something to that baby to not let it live, that would be homicide, not abortion. The baby is alive at that point. This isn't something to ponder. It's very simple. It's very simple.
It's very simple, and it's not like a useful hypothetical in any way, because no one on the left is advocating for anything close to that in terms of abortion rights.
So the point is to ask, well, first off, the scenarios that they're talking about could come up, because they were talking specifically about this law that would allow abortion up to essentially right before pregnancy. And I think Tim was just trying to figure out the moral intuitions that were guiding him, and the means by which he was going about this was using these different hypotheticals of, where do you draw the line? Does the term unborn baby have any meaning? Also, if it is viable, why not try to set up some scenario? Well, why abort it? Why can't you just end the pregnancy and just deliver the baby early? And the part that bothered me about it was it just seemed that Bender and the rest of that crew at the majority report there's this recurring theme where they seem to get uncomfortable when you start throwing out these hypothetical fringe scenarios, because they either feel like they're not relevant, or they feel like, well, that's not what normally happens, so it's not worth bringing up.
Well, in this particular case, I don't think this would ever actually happen. Or someone who wanted to abort their baby at that point is the same type of person who's going to to kill their kid when after it's born. It's the same. Sure, that's going to happen, but this is not an abortion issue. This is more like a feticide issue.
Yeah, well, and so what Tim kept bringing up is, well, in that case, why not have when he was bringing this back out of the hypothetical, in that case, why not put in the legislation that at that point, if the fetus is viable or up to a certain months after the fetus is viable, that you just deliver the baby, because the language used specifically says abortion. It's not just ending the pregnancy; it's aborting the fetus. And I think that was a great point. Yeah, why not just deliver the baby at that point?
It's not a baby; it's a fetus, because you're framing it in a way that makes it seem like this is a thing that has rights, and it doesn't. It's not a thing. It's
okay. So that's what I'm getting at with you, or I guess that's interesting. So you don't feel like, if you're in that scenario, if it doesn't have rights, the woman goes to the abortion clinic, 8.5 months pregnant. She's out there in the waiting room, ready to get her an abortion, as the kids call it.
Yeah.
She's waiting on her abortion. The baby starts coming out. She starts going into labor. The baby's got a leg sticking out. Does that baby still have no rights? You can go in there and just ice pick it to death, and that's cool.
I mean, I've made my opinion very clear on this. I have no compunctions about post-birth abortion. I'm not one of these people that, a human being, a person is someone who has, like, consciousness is it expresses itself through experience. A brand new baby that doesn't have any experience. There's nothing up there, man.
I've got no problem with that take. We're kind of getting into this is where a bunch of great thought experiments and hypotheticals would come up.
I see your point.
Talking about that.
It makes them seem like they're waffling or they're scared to take a solid position when they do this.
Exactly.
You could lay it out in a better way and say, hey, I don't think this hypothetical, the way I did, I don't think this hypothetical would ever take place, just because of the mentality of the person who would abort a baby at that point or attempt.
I think you nailed it. It's with that in particular, I think it's just about courage. He doesn't want to say, fuck that baby, let's kill it. And he doesn't want to say, no, I think that there should be reasonable restrictions on abortion or unreasonable restrictions, however you want to phrase it. And so he ends up just kind of cowardly waffling back and forth. And he attacks the tool by which Tim tries to get him to give an answer instead of attacking the methodology that Tim's using. They're making it out as if the thought experiment and the hypothetical is the problem. And like I said, this is just one thing, but this is a recurring thing that I've seen over and over. So we're going to go through some other stuff.
This one case doesn't really strike me because this takes place in the context of the larger Roe thing going on right now. So
it's the epitome of like male privilege, frankly, to be able to just like have a philosophical conversation about women's rights being taken away, and like, bad things might happen, but that's just the price of liberty.
And that's the thing. They wanted me. And this is what really bothered his audience and them. Anyone who's watched the whole thing, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. We must have gone on for 45 minutes, honestly, back and forth throughout the show. If you put all these pieces together, throughout that 3.5 hours, they constantly came back to try to pin me down on what my moral view is on abortion. They kept saying, what do you believe? And I would constantly, I wasn't going to play that game because this is my moral decision. They just didn't like it. My moral decision on abortion, my moral feelings about abortion is that it is up to a woman what she wants to do when she's pregnant. It's in her hands. It's her body, and she confers with a doctor.
All right. Yeah. So this is Emma going off about these privileged male arguments. These privileged male arguments serve an important role. So once again, he's not saying the debate around abortion policy isn't important. They freaking talked about it for 45 minutes. And like Tim says in the clips, he agrees with Roe. They agree on probably 95% of abortion policy. Tim's trying to get him to take a position on the 5% that they might disagree with. These fucking rubes just don't seem to understand. They can't conceptualize a position outside the binary, I hate abortion, or you should be able to kill a baby the day before its delivery date, and therefore want to smear him. These hypotheticals are meant to figure out the remaining 5%. I mean, that's what we're trying to do with these exercises, these tools, is to figure out where we're going to set the margins. And you have to bring up these weird edge cases to make those lines clear.
I agree with your point, but I think Tim Pool doesn't do that. Like, he says that he supports Roe, and then he's extremely overjoyed when it gets. Did you see the clip of him reacting to Roe getting potentially overturned?
Oh yeah.
Like, he does this with everything. This is the same shit that like.
He talks about it in this interview, debate, whatever it is, and what he says his position is not that he is against abortion rights. It's that he feels that this should be a state's issue, and he says that he takes kind of the old Democratic line,
like slavery,
of safe, legal, and rare. Which I think from what Tim says, I would say that I agree with. I'm probably across the board with Tim on abortion. I think it should be something that's safe, legal, and rare.
Why?
Why? Well, I think that
women shouldn't be having sex.
No, it's obviously the safe part. We've not any concerns on that. The legal part, I don't think there should be any qualms about that. And just, I don't know. I mean, the rare part, I don't really know. I don't know. This is not something I think about a lot, honestly.
Yeah. So it's not like there is some moral reason that you seem to be hesitant about just slaughtering unborn fetuses.
Yeah, I think
unnecessarily.
The term unborn child is a real one. I think that maybe they don't have the same full rights as well, certainly they don't have the same experiential value as a living, breathing person, but they do have some value. They have a potential value, and that is worth something and should be taken into consideration. And certainly once the baby reaches the age of viability, like it's something that we should think about and we should consider and not flippantly abort that potential life. And of course, we're not really flippantly doing it. I mean, this is what we're talking about is our incredibly rare edge cases, but the proposed solution that he brought up in the clip of, well, in cases of viability, unless there's a reason to end the baby's life, just go ahead and deliver it. Let's not set up scenarios where people are flippantly aborting.
Yeah, but then the woman is required by law to like fucking take care of this kid that they didn't want.
You had 8 months to 7 months to get the abortion. I mean, that if you're waiting until the last, I don't know. Yeah, if you're waiting until the last minute to decide.
What if it's a medical issue?
But it's a medical issue that involves another potential life at least.
What if the baby's really fucked up? What if it has like fucking two heads?
Yeah, I got no problem with that. Kill that little monster.
Ugly monster. It's like, I think the compunction you have is like the same like reason that we feel bad about dumping like 100,000 baby chicks per hour right into the chipper. It's like, yeah, they're really dumb and very simple beings, but we still shouldn't just be dumping them willy-nilly by the bucketfuls into the chipper. It seems kind of fucked up.
It is. I was out on my tractor the other day and I ran over a nest of baby rabbits. I just seen them like smeared across the ground.
Rabbits are so cute.
I was just thinking about that in terms of abortion. These little baby bunnies smeared across the grass.
Well,
anyways,
that's probably food for the snakes. So you're harming the snakes.
Oh, that's the worst. I hate snakes.
I bet you got some out there, don't you?
I have not really seen any this year, honestly.
Really?
I've seen like one or two on the road where they belong, squished.
Should we move along to the...
Yeah, let's go on to the next one.
Let's suppose that the police had rushed in. And let's suppose that an officer had shot the gunman and only 10 children had died, but the police officer had shot one child and a teacher in the process. Now, trolley problem-wise...
Press pause. Press pause.
Here we go. Let's bring out the math.
Holy shit! I mean, come on. Is this like something that all these guys go to the same fucking media school and they all get trained how to use these fucking hypothetical?
The trolley problem is the only way. The trolley problem is the only viable path for right-wingers to discuss politics because it's let's say hypothetically. We're starting off with a hypothetical about an actual event that just happened days ago.
All right, yeah. So this one, Brett Weinstein. I always forget. Is it Weinstein or Weinstein? I know it's not. It's Harvey Weinstein, so he's Weinstein.
It should be Weinstein. The way it's spelled, it should be Weinstein, but they pronounce it differently in the United States when they move here sometimes.
Okay, so anyways, here Brett is speculating on potentially worse outcomes in regards to policies on how we should respond to a situation like this. The majority report crew doesn't seem to like this. Should we not? Now, I've made it no secret that I think the police should have went in. I can scarcely imagine a scenario in which the outcome would have been worse in this particular situation. But producing these hypotheticals to talk about how they should respond in future scenarios is certainly important. And I think that's what he was trying to do. And they seem to just really be missing the point on this. They want to focus on this scenario and act as if, I don't know, that it's going to be a model for future scenarios, maybe.
My take would be that they probably feel like people like Weinstein or Tim Pool are bringing up hypotheticals as opposed to taking a position on an issue, I would assume. I wish they would have let him finish his points, at least.
Well, they go to it. We're going to see a little bit more in a bit. Yeah, we'll go ahead and just play it then.
Children and teachers were caught in the crossfire.
In some quarters, that policeman would now be being called a murderer.
Something, What if the police officer was white and the teacher was Hispanic? Right? What added situation does this? What added spin is this going to add to the fury over what went wrong in Uvalde? Right. So
he's blaming the future liberals for race politics that never happened.
Oh, yeah.
Potential race politicking.
To be fair, I think that the points that Weinstein are making in this are absolutely moronic. And his use of these hypotheticals, the premises that he's bringing up, or the point that he's trying to get through the use of these tools, that should be brought up. That should be pointed out for how silly it is. You should play along with the hypothetical and show why the premises or the moral intuitions or whatever that he has behind this, show why that's wrong and not just attack the actual they go on because they start yelling about it a little bit more.
The explicitly racialized context in which we are expected to engage all of...
I should just say that YouTube user bad stats put this clip together.
And by the way, no one's doing this. No one on the left is racializing anything about the police officer nor the race of the teacher. Nobody's doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to start, though. What if the police officer was Van Helsing and the teacher was a vampire? What? What? There are a lot of ways this could go, if we're just making fan fiction.
Yeah.
Is this...
But yeah, so they seem to be missing the point. He's not actually saying that people are trying to racialize the police or the teachers or anything like that. He's trying to just bring up different scenarios. What he's trying to do is have a conversation about, I guess, when the police should go in, what kind of trying to figure out what our policy should be on and what our expectations should be on police intervention in these sorts of situations. And using hypotheticals like this, I mean, it's a great way to go about it. It's kind of the only way to go about it, really. And they just, I don't know, it's this weird inability to engage in these sorts of intellectual exercises.
What he was doing, that particular hypothetical was a complete non sequitur. It didn't have anything to do with what the police should have done.
Well, not in that scenario. I think he's talking about in future scenarios. Like, what should we expect police to do in the future based on what we know off of this? So let's start making scenarios. We can include this scenario, but we'll come up with some other scenarios so that we have a general rule that we can build a policy based on for how police engage in these sorts of mass casualty events when they happen.
All right, fair enough.
But yeah, I don't know. The point of these sorts of exercises is to craft a cohesive policy that's applicable across the board. I don't think Brett's trying to skirt talking about what actually happened. So imagine a scenario where the police shouldn't have went in. The gunman walks in with a handgun, shoots some kids in his holdup. Teachers from inside the school report that 10 shots were fired and the person is presumably nearly out of ammo. There's one officer on site. That officer could go in alone and potentially get killed, giving more ammo to the shooter, or wait 5 minutes for backup to ensure that the gunman could get killed. What do you think about...
Well, the police regulations specify that they wait till there's 2 officers to go in.
Okay.
That's why I think that line of reasoning is probably why that's there.
Another scenario. What if the gunman is shot in an early exchange? Gunman enters the school, shoots some kids, and reports are that the shooter is bleeding heavily and is in an auditorium. Police can rush in and risk a shootout and a potentially dangerous exchange for bystanders, or wait and see if the person loses consciousness. What's the point of these exercises? The police we have now are garbage. The new iteration will have to have guiding doctrines for these sorts of engagements. This is how we craft those, by coming up with hypotheticals so we can set rules of engagement around the acceptable amount of risk. Or we can just use hindsight rationalization, which is, I think, what they're trying to do, which is incredibly easy. In this situation, this is what should have happened. Yes, of course. Now, how do we set a cohesive policy going forward that will leave the guesswork out of future situations and make sure that actions are taken in the future and liability is held if those actions aren't taken?
I think you're definitely right. I mean, hypotheticals are important. This is like Aristotle shit, right? Sort of the basis of philosophy, really.
Yeah, it's the basis around forming any policy, and it's this continual refrain that I see where someone will start bringing up these different hypotheticals and thought experiments, and they just want to keep talking about whatever the situation at hand is, and there seems to be this idea that bringing up the hypothetical is a means to avoid talking about the actual scenario, and obviously it's not. It is a way to talk about the actual scenario, but you're trying to nail down, I guess, what your particular thoughts and line and intuitions are about how things should proceed going forward.
I just want to say, in regards to the Brett Weinstein clip, the point he was trying to make there, I'm not sure if people caught it, but he's basically saying that the police were scared to go in because they didn't want to be called racist because fucking Ivermax Kendi wrote a book or some shit. Like, they're trying to blame anti-racist policies or anti-racism in general, sort of an anti-racist sentiment in the country, trying to blame that for this mass shooting, essentially, which is pretty disgusting and in line for Weinstein.
Yeah, I don't know if he necessarily is or not. But anyway, it's all neither here nor there. Yeah, you just want to go to the last one?
All right, you're going to make me comment on it. Okay.
Bring it.
Okay.
Win.
I don't find that, as I share with you guys, that's not an interesting comment. Of course, we don't want Muslim fundamentalists to have the bomb. Duh. Right? But that doesn't excuse his comment at all. He wrote it. We didn't write it for him. He wrote it, talking about a nuclear first strike if necessary. And then he claimed it was a hypothetical. It wasn't a hypothetical. No, I don't mean that it's not a hypothetical. It is. It's a hypothetical if necessary. No, there is no situation where, there's no ticking time bomb. We don't live in 24. You're not Jack Bauer, right? If you do a nuclear first strike, that means you obliterate hundreds of thousands of people, including children, grandmothers, everyone, innocent, guilty. It doesn't matter. It's a hideous thing, and it's not an interesting intellectual exercise. And you didn't write it by accident. You wrote it because you thought, maybe, right? And maybe why? They're so bad. The Muslims are so bad. Maybe. We got to think about it. They're so dangerous.
All right. Yeah, that's good. So this was in response to a real famous, I guess famous in certain circles, spat between Cenk Uygur and Sam Harris. So Sam Harris, in his book, The End of Faith, he gives this hypothetical scenario about the danger we could be facing if what he refers to as an ISIS regime ever took power. I'm going to go ahead and just read a little bit of this to give some context. This is the hypothetical.
And the time period this was written in was post 9/11, pretty soon after.
I think it was late, maybe 2009, 2010, somewhere around there. This is peak war on terror years.
Right.
I guess this is, So what will we do if an Islamist regime, which grows dewy-eyed at the mere mention of paradise, ever requires long-range nuclear weaponry? If history is any guide, we will not be sure about where the offending warheads are or what their state of readiness is, and so we will be unable to rely on targeted conventional weapons to destroy them. In such a situation, the only thing likely to ensure our survival may be a nuclear first strike of our own. Needless to say, this would be an unthinkable crime, as it would kill tens of millions of innocent civilians in a single day. But it may be the only course of action available to us, given what Islamists believe. How would such an unconscionable act of self-defense be perceived by the rest of the Muslim world? The horrible irony here is that seeing could make it so. The very perception could plunge us into a state of hot war with any Muslim state. So he gives this scenario about what would our nuclear first strike policy be, or how would we proceed if ISIS ever took over a country. Let's say ISIS goes into Iran, they take over. We absolutely know it to be true that they're, essentially the 19 hijackers are now the leaders of a nuclear armed country. And Cenk just, for whatever reason, and like I said, this is kind of the first time that I ever really noticed this. Cenk just did not want to engage with the hypothetical. I think with him in particular, he feels like there's something else going on. And just like the Majority Report crew, he doesn't want to engage in the hypothetical. He feels the only thing that's necessary to talk about are what the actual facts on the ground are, what the scenarios that we're currently presented with are.
Well, yeah, Sam Harris was defending the fucking war in Iraq. He is stumping up, he's beating the drums of war for nuking Iran, basically, is what he lays out in the chapter. It's what he's talking about. if Iran got the bomb, maybe we should nuke them. That's essentially what he's saying. It's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
The nuclear fallout would decimate the Arab world, and there's no reason to use a nuclear first strike. Just use conventional weapons if you want to execute a first strike. Why would you use a nuke?
Well, so this is what the hypothetical is. And that's what we were talking about specifically is this hypothetical scenario where, you have a city, that they're going to send the nukes at some point. It's somewhere in the city, you don't have time. Like I said, this is just a thought experiment. People keep saying that he was advocating bombing Iran. I've read everything.
He advocated for, but he put it out there. He put it into the world.
He put this out there, and everyone said that he was advocating for bombing Iran.
Well, it could be interpreted as if he were, and it has been by plenty of right wingers.
Well, he has clarified that that's not what he was talking about. No,
because public opinion changed to the war on terror. At the time, he wasn't saying that. He wasn't the only one writing shit like that either at the time.
Well, so the point of these hypotheticals, these are important conversations to have. And in the context of what was going on at the time where you had, the war on terror was kind of at its peak. You had these different groups, these kind of, you had ISIS at the time that was making some major headway. You had a lot of instability going on in Syria. You had these different fundamentalist groups vying for power in Iran. It's a situation that needed to be discussed, and I think it was an interesting discussion to have. What would happen if what were essentially the 19 hijackers got their hands on the nuclear button for a country? What if we were facing that actual threat that we faced on, Osama bin Laden got what he wanted and he was able to do everything, in that scenario, what would we actually do and what would our policy be? And that the way you find that out is by having these different thought experiments. And
there's no situation whereby a nuclear first strike is a good idea. Yeah. I can't envision one. What?
All right, so that's what go ahead.
I can't envision a scenario where a nuclear first strike is the correct course of action. It just seems crazy to even bring up.
Okay. So what does Jenks' reluctance to engage in the hypothetical reveal about his position? This is going to get to what you're getting at. Jenks seems to be responding in a couple of different ways. First off, this isn't the case. That what he's talking about is not the case, that they're not dewy-eyed at the very mention of paradise. Correct. That's not currently the case. Second, he seems to think that Sam has ulterior motives, which I know you do too. Maybe, I don't think so, but let's assume he does for the sake of argument. I don't think it's relevant. These series of events could play out whether Sam wants to kill all brown people or not. So does engaging in any of this have any utility in changing or solidifying our own positions? Third, I want to point out that the point of this exercise in my mind is to have a discussion about our nuclear first strike policy. Jenks' position is that he thinks that there is no need for a nuclear first strike. And I think that my position would be almost the same as Jenks, almost the same as yours. But we're going to run through some hypotheticals and try to figure out what your position actually is. Your position right now is you don't think you just blanket against nuclear first strikes?
I can't imagine what the logical reason would be to use a nuclear first strike in any scenario.
I'm going to give you some logical
I'd be
reasons. Very surprised
if you changed my mind on this.
Okay. Imagine, if you will, this is taken from a South Park episode. BP is drilling for oil in the Gulf of Mexico. Okay. They breach an ancient stone tomb that opens a gateway to some eldritch plane, and Cthulhu gets loose. He moves to some small, nearly deserted island, annihilates the population. He then begins moving toward the Gulf mainland. He's out in the ocean. Should we nuclear first strike Cthulhu?
Wow.
We're going to work our way down. To more convincing scenarios.
I think yes, but only because the fallout would just wipe out Florida, which I would be in favor of.
Okay. The next scenario is the same, but Cthulhu gets awakened here from me messing around outside. He destroys Radcliffe.
Messing around outside. And you spawn Cthulhu? What the fuck?
Cthulhu. I get up to some crazy shit. All right, so he destroys Radcliffe, which everyone's fine with, and then he starts moving towards Louisville. Would it be okay to make a nuclear first strike on Louisville to kill Cthulhu before he gets to the rich eastern part?
Well, he's already destroyed West Louisville, so he's heading east. Is that?
he's heading east. He's heading towards Louisville.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, you want to save property. You don't want too much property damage from Cthulhu.
Yeah. All right. So those are kind of the funny ones. Now, On the Sam Harris scenario, ISIS is still around. We wake up, we start hearing just like kind of the rumors about what was going on with the Ukraine situation. You start hearing, it looks like ISIS may take Iran. It looks like it might actually happen. And we wake up one day, ISIS is now in control of Iran, black flags just waving everywhere. And the Ayatollah, whoever, who is the leader of ISIS, gets on international television and says, we love paradise more than we love life. We just got control of the nuclear armaments, and we are going to be sending a message to Washington from Tehran today. It's unequivocal. We know it's going to happen. In that scenario, would we perform a nuclear first strike on Tehran? We know that they're going to send. It's a ticking time bomb. That classic scenario.
We definitely would. I mean, I'm surprised we haven't already nuked Iran, frankly.
But should we? In that scenario, should we do it?
Of course not. Absolutely not. To wipe out a handful of people?
No.
First of
to
all,
save. They're sending the nukes.
Scenario could never happen. Just first of all.
Okay, Jink.
Well, it just couldn't.
Why couldn't it? Is there anything necessarily stopping something like that from happening?
Yeah, Iran or Shia.
ISIS doesn't have to be. I know. It's a bad scenario, but I'm saying an extremist regime like that.
They're 100% going to bomb the U.S.
100% going to bomb the U.S.
Then we would just use conventional weapons. There's no reason to drop a nuke. A nuke. We have big ass bombs.
Yeah.
I mean, a nuke isn't necessary. The only reason you use a nuke is to kill civilians. That's really the only purpose of it.
Well, you have to take out. You don't know where the bombs are coming from in the city, so you've got to.
You need a really big bomb.
I don't have. You need a really big bomb. You have to take out the whole city. It's coming from somewhere in Tehran. We've got to take out the whole city.
I mean, the scenario is going to get so complex because you're going to have to not have any surveillance, no intel. I mean, you would have to concoct such an extremely in-depth scenario to make this plausible.
Okay.
I'm sure you could conjure up something, but it's so far outside the realm of possibility that it's not even worth spending time on.
Okay. Fair enough. Like I said, I thought it was interesting to go into.
Yeah.
Try to figure out where you stood. I don't really have a point, so I don't know what you see.
Well, it comes across as like weaselly when they fucking do this, man.
Yeah, I think that's really what bothers me about it. I think also a lot of times it comes down to failure of imagination. So the scenarios I come up with, and I really don't have much of a position on the nuclear first strike thing. I'd say that you and I are pretty similar. I can't foresee a scenario in which we would ever need to use it. If we had I'm sure we do have a policy on it, but whatever the policy is, like if the scenario presented itself that we would need to use it, whether it was our policy to do it or not, we would probably end up using it. Hopefully, if it absolutely had to be done, hopefully there would be somebody that would do it. And hopefully that person would have the foresight to not do it unless it absolutely had to be done. The craziest of crazy scenarios come up.
Every fucking asshole general and like State Department official probably is just foaming at the mouth to drop nukes on fucking Putin right now.
Yeah, most likely. But I don't know. I think a lot of this in these different scenarios just comes down to either a failure of imagination or wanting to virtue signal. Matt Bender, I don't think he has the decency to admit that the traditional liberal position of acceptable abortions up until the day before birth shouldn't be unquestioned. That there will inevitably be scenarios that fall outside of the norm. Norms exist as a contrast to the fringe. The majority report crew that doesn't seem to have the courage to stray from the line that cops are bad. They seem to think that anyone not regurgitating that phrase is a police apologist. I think they're most often correct, and I certainly think that they're correct in this case. However, they need the foresight to imagine the scenarios and help move the dialogue along on what the particular rules of engagement are for police in these situations. Cenk just lacks imagination, and I'm not sure if he's even able to engage. But
I don't know. Cenk is not useful for his like philosophical musings. He's useful because he looks like Fred Flintstone and he goes hard. He can talk some shit.
He's a blowhard for sure.
Yeah, love it. He's the liberal Alex Jones.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. He's
someone
all riled up on bacon grease.
Yeah.
Starts getting crazy.
Been eating fucking chili dogs all morning.
But incidentally, so I think this is why, like I said, I've just kind of found Vosh recently, and this is what I love so much about listening to him. I think with crews like the Majority Report, with the exception of Sam Cedar, because he seems to be a really intelligent guy and can work his way through the philosophy side of stuff. But his crew, and then certainly the TYT crew, like they'll come to the right answers, or they'll find the right answers, but they don't know how they got there, or they don't know how the other person got there, whoever they're regurgitating their stuff. Whereas Vosh, like from what I've seen, like he shows you how he gets there on these different positions, and he makes it a point to argue out the different kind of philosophical underpinnings to each of the things that he's talking about, so that other people can argue them better as well. And I guess it makes the left as a whole stronger when people are able to really defend their points.
Well, Vosh is good on social issues. That's what he knows about and he speaks about, and he's knowledgeable. Nobody else is really going out there defending like LGBTQ shit like he is. So I do appreciate that.
It's good stuff. Yeah, he's a smart guy, interesting to listen to. But anyways, that's my little spiel.
Well, this sort of ties into a topic that we're going to cover next week, I think, or at some point, sort of Islam in a more broader context. I do want to talk about Saudi Arabia today, just a little history primer here. But yeah, the religion and Islam in particular is one we've disagreed on before. I'm curious to see where your position is on that now. But just as some context for this future discussion, maybe next week we'll talk about this. But I do want to play the lead for this segment. I have a new lead to play for the ladies and gentlemen out there. It's pretty cool, the history of Saudi Arabia and just the kingdom in general. Like, I don't know, it just brings back memories of like Aladdin and shit.
Is that racist?
You know how large it is? Saudi Arabia is humongous. Apparently, it's like you could fit like Ukraine, Germany, and like 3 other countries inside of it.
I did not know it was that large.
Sometimes the objective world and the narrative world touch.
So you feed on information, right? Just like food. Think about that.
It's a bit of a stretch for the segment title, but
very profound.
Saudi Arabia. So this is the great American proxy in the Middle East. This is a defender of American interests, thanks to the treasures they have buried in the under the sand out there. This is a Sunni majority country, opposite of Iran, which is a Shia majority country. We were just discussing. Yeah, the Wahhabists, like ISIS, Iran is their enemy. Iran hates ISIS just as much as Sam Harris does. The initial kingdom was founded in 1913 by conquest, essentially. There was 2 basically states within Saudi Arabian territory. And previously to that, it was controlled by the Ottoman Empire. So after World War I, it was there was this war. The Saud family conquered Saudi Arabia. In the 1930s, they discovered oil. And there's oil all over Saudi Arabia, actually, but it's not very profitable to extract it from most of the desert out there, except for the eastern portion of Saudi Arabia.
I guess, is it just like an infrastructure problem?
Yeah, you can't build roads through like giant sand dunes and shit, essentially.
Yeah. And I didn't know this until recently, that I always assumed like Saudi Arabia was just like this incredibly old country, because it is kind of a relic, I guess, in how it's set up compared to modern countries. But it's a very modern country. I mean, it was just 1913 that's what you said? Yeah, 1913 was when it was formed. And it just seemed odd to me that you would set up a theocratic monarchy this late in the development of human civilization, and that it would survive as long as it has.
Well, the Saud family goes back, gosh, I know the initial split was like 1783 or something like that. And for a long ass time, the Ottoman Empire, let me share a map of it.
So I guess they were like local warlords or some aristocratic family from the area.
Well, there were tribes, yeah, but they were pretty large. Like, this is a huge country. Here's Riyadh, and the Al Saud family, he allied with a basically religious fundamentalist to form this coalition, essentially. And using the coalition, they were able to conquer the entire territory and set up this country, this kingdom. So here you can see in the east, see how it's green? This is the good part. This is also where the fucking oil is. The Shiites, the majority of this area is Shiite. So this is Iranian shit. And the whole point of the kingdom of the king and the Saud family ruling this kingdom and being propped up by initially Britain is who actually supported the Saud family initially after World War I, and the Ottoman Empire was divided up. The Brits gave military support and technology to the Saud family to maintain control over this Shiite territory in the east here where all the fucking oil is.
So on the other side of the Persian Gulf, I know Iraq is north of Saudi Arabia, but Iran is I guess right on the other side of the Gulf.
Yeah, this is Turkey, and then Iran's up here. And the reason that it seems a little strange to have these other countries all around the outside of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, but that's because there are geographical boundaries, which are the deserts, basically big ass deserts that sort of split off Oman, the United Emirates, Qatar. And right here, this eastern portion, the Shiite majority region, is where all the oil is and is exported from. Saudi Arabia is the world's largest oil exporter. Sort of runs OPEC.
Yeah, get to exporting, guys. I just paid $4.79 a gallon.
Good. I think gas needs to be higher. It needs to be fucking $20 a gallon. And assholes will quit driving around willy-nilly. Cruising should not be a pastime. It just shouldn't. Just fucking sit your ass, chill, man. Go do some push-ups. Fuck.
You're making a lot of 16-year-olds very unhappy.
There's a couple of historical events I want to mention in the modern sort of era that are relevant. 1973, there was the Yom Kippur War, where the Arab countries invaded Israel, attacked Israel. This is primarily Egypt, along with Jordan. Saudi Arabia was nominally in support of the invasion, but they didn't really provide much. They had a few troops. I think the troops were in Jordan at the time, I believe, but it was only a few hundred. So they sort of escaped the wrath of the West in that war, and it wasn't very close. I mean, the Israelis crushed them and then conquered half of Egypt, essentially, Golan Heights and the Sinai. In response to this Yom Kippur War, OPEC imposed an oil embargo on the West for propping up Israel, and that sort of put America in its place. After that, that was a gas crisis. Gas prices go up, and American presidents start freaking the fuck out. Like Biden, his approval rating is 30% or something?
Something like that, yeah.
It's like the only thing fucking Americans care about is being able to drive around willy-nilly. I know it affects, for example, diesel prices are pretty relevant when it comes to shipping. But here's a great idea. Stop shipping. How about produce some fucking shit in this country? Instead of importing everything from China, how about build factories here? That's a good idea, huh? Seems like we had factories here. What happened to them?
Yeah, I don't think there's nothing necessarily barring the factories from being built, just our different trade relations with countries.
Well, you have to pay Americans too much.
Yeah, and the labor laws here.
That's the problem.
Because gas is so expensive, James. See, it's all circular. Gas is so expensive, so you can't build factories here because labor costs are higher, which drives gas up more. It's an unending cycle.
Well, this came to my attention because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. But yeah, gas is important to the war machine. They need gas to run their war machine. Tanks run on gas. You don't really, in jets, they run on, petroleum products. You don't really think about it, but yeah, the U.S. military requires the Saudi Arabian oil to have military might and be dominant in the world. They need the gas. There was also 1979, this Qatif uprising, where the Shiites were tired of the Sunnis dominating the region. They were basically second-class citizens. They were treated like shit, even though the territory that they lived on was where all the oil was. They weren't benefiting. The Sunnis weren't investing the money into the Shiite territory. They weren't investing it into the eastern portion of the country. They were, lining their own pockets, which is typically what happens when you have a monarch.
Yeah, they were just money that the Sunni majority could just extract from the eastern portion without helping out the eastern portion in return.
There was this uprising. The Shiites actually occupied Mecca, one of the mosques in Mecca. So they killed thousands of the Shiites and arrested bunch. Pretty brutal crackdown. In 1980, Saudi Arabia finally finished the purchase of Aramco, the American Arabian oil company. Initially, Aramco owned all of the oil infrastructure in eastern Saudi Arabia. And this is one of the main reasons why the Wahhabists, the hardliners, got pissed off at the royal family in Saudi Arabia in general, because all of the there was tons of American, something like 15% of the Saudi Arabian population is foreign workers coming into Saudi Arabia to work.
Huh.
This is when they talk about foreigners in the Holy Land. That's what they're talking about.
I guess that's got to be pretty rare too for a country to buy out U.S. interests in their country. I mean,
It's pretty rare to have I mean, I guess it's not rare, but it's pretty bizarre and telling to have like an American company owning all the infrastructure to produce oil in some other country.
and for that American company to essentially, I mean, give up its rights. It's going forward in what was obviously still is a very profitable enterprise. It's just what kind of confusing to me is why would the Americans have sold out and sold their portion back to the country? I mean,
I don't think they had a choice.
That bad?
No, they didn't need the money, but they didn't have a choice. It's the free market, baby. It's probably a publicly traded company. They just probably bought all the fucking shares.
Oh, okay.
Or they could have faced threat of nationalization. That's always there. Why pay for it? It's already in your country. Just fucking nationalize it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like whenever that conversation starts happening, that's when you start having overthrows.
Yeah.
You get the
Nasserites.
the U.S. Special Forces start coming in, and
the Kyle Rittenhouse squad gets in there to protect the property.
The Rittenhouse Brigade.
Yeah, but Aramco, this is the largest oil company in the world. The second largest proven reserves are in Saudi Arabia, and they control OPEC. They control international gas prices through OPEC, which is pretty baller. It'd be even more baller if they had some sovereignty, like the citizens of Saudi Arabia, as opposed to the fucking Saudi royal family / the CIA. They're basically CIA, in my opinion. They're there to preserve U.S. influence in the region and to dominate the country, the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That's what the Saudi royal family, that's their role. They're basically fucking CIA, man.
Yeah, I know whatever I've read about them, it seems that, their connection with the U.S. just goes back real long, real deep. I mean, do they have direct connections to the CIA or?
Probably, I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, they're probably
classified.
A little, kind of like along how Israel is just a staging point for U.S. interest in the Middle East. You know, kind of Saudi Arabia's basically set up the same way. They have their sovereignty, but we can kind of go over there and do what we need to, or use them to get intel on the area.
Well, it's to protect the oil. It's to keep the oil flowing, man. It's to control OPEC. It's to control the international oil trade.
Like legit, I am happy that we if they do have those connections to the CIA, to the U.S., I'm happy about it. You know, such an important resource rich part of the globe. It's comforting to know that we've got we've got our finger on the scale over there, and we've got a little bit of control over what's going on. We'll have a heads up if some shady stuff starts happening.
I have some bad news for all of you America stans. Iran is way more fucking democratic than Saudi Arabia, guys.
Well, it's not about being democratic. I want them to have an absolute monarchy, and I want us to have absolute control over that absolute monarchy, so we have absolute control over those resources.
You've been reading too much Curtis Yarvin, dude. So the Saudi royal family is very conservative. They're Wahhabists because of the history, as I mentioned. The initial coalition between the Saud family, Ibn Saud, and Wahhab, I don't remember his name. It was something Wahhabi was his fucking name, like the original religious guy. And that's, Osama bin Laden, Wahhabism. It's this fundamentalist extremism, the jihad on the West, sexism and oppression of women, which we won't get into too much today, but it should be mentioned that if the United States gave two fucks about women's rights like they pretend to do in Afghanistan, they wouldn't be propping up the Saud family and the monarchy in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and I can't remember, the Wahhabi guy, the founder of Wahhabism, it came out of this kind of late Islamic revivalist movement. So I think it would be analogous in the U.S. to the Christian revivalist movement that happened like in the 1910s to maybe 40s or so. So essentially, it would be like if Jerry Falwell and Pat Robertson, like those kind of guys, if they ended up getting their hands, if they become the king of America, like that's essentially what happened in Saudi Arabia. Or if they had so much control over the leadership of America that they started instituting those sorts of religious rules. And the Christian revivalist movement was incredibly fundamentalist. You know, that's where all the kind of the gay hatred and the modern issues with sexual deviance come from. It's out of these much more modern than I think people realize revivalist movements.
Well, you're implying that there is a certain period of time before that which was less fundamentalist in this country.
Yes.
Or in the religion in general.
Yes. You know, there's always been a strong religious bent in this country, but I'm the brand of Christianity. So there would be all sorts of people that would identify themselves as Christians and would nominally follow the Bible, but the more extreme interpretations, the conservative Christianity, that's a fairly recent thing that just didn't really exist, you know, certainly in the 1700s or even in the 1800s. Yeah. And it also might be just a function of how society was organized, you know, a lot more rural people, so the congregations were smaller. And you had certainly small sects of highly conservative religious groups. You know, Mennonites, Amish would be one, the Quakers. But as a broad movement, it wasn't really popular.
It's probably a reaction to progress, be in this country. I don't think it was the case in Saudi Arabia, but
I think the Christian revivalist movement in the U.S. was, in large part, it was a response to the big influx of immigrants at that time. So like late 1800s to early 1900s, you had all these different immigrant groups coming in, and they were changing the cultural makeup of these different areas. Also, you had industrialization going on, and there were a lot of people that were just pissed off about it. They're the Karens of the day, perhaps, and they started going to these tent revivals, and this ultra-conservative, ultra-waspy revivalist movement started. But
it's interesting that you bring that up because, like, some of the normies in Saudi Arabia call the Wahhabists born-again Muslims. Like, I've heard them use that term, born again.
Yeah, and that seems to be exactly what Wahhabism is. It's just an incredibly conservative, literal Muslim revivalist movement.
So King Abdullah bin Abdulaziz Al Saud died in 2015. This was the king previously to the current king. He was a Wahhabist. He was a old school fundamentalist Wahhabist, and his predecessors were, and his immediate family were. After him, though, his brother Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud took over. And the Salmans are more reform-minded. They're basically neoliberals, essentially, is what Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who basically runs the country at this point, a reformist in some ways. We'll get into it. So Mohammed bin Salman is the crown prince. So when the king dies, he will be the king. He is the ruler. He's the de facto ruler. He took power in basically in 2015 after King Abdullah died. In 2017, Mohammed bin Salman initiated this crackdown, calling it a crackdown on corruption is what he called it. He had presented some documents to show that these people were corrupt, that he was arresting or assassinating. But, you know, all these guys are fucking corrupt. He's probably got papers on everybody showing all of, you know, they're all corrupt. It's like 500 kids in this one family, dude. The Sauds.
Yeah, how many wives does he have? I mean, they're all polygamist, right? Like they can have multiple wives, and I mean they basically just have harems, is my understanding.
King Al Saud had 22 wives and something like 500 children or something like that. Some crazy number.
And no telling how many just unacknowledged children. I've heard that this is it is common for certain young models to get invitations to go to places like Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. And there are certain women that will basically just do like tours of the place. They'll get groups of them that will go over there and they'll stay 3 months out of the year. And you can do that and spend time with these elderly red scarfed gentlemen and make insane amounts of money. But yeah.
Yeah, well, they don't need Epstein Island because Epstein is the fucking king. I mean, They have a monarchy. They can do whatever they want, and the government owns Aramco. They own the oil. All the oil revenue goes directly to the government, and you have this family deciding how to divvy it up.
And they like to party, is what I'm trying to say. They like to party. Love the company of young women.
Well, here's Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. He is in his 80s. He's like 86 or something. So MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, Crown Prince, runs the place. There he is. He's a Gen Xer. He's our age, basically.
He's 36 years old. He's younger.
This is in reference to the crackdown in 2017, where he eliminated all his political opposition. He basically consolidated his power because his father is the brother of the previous king. So there are two sort of factions that were in play here, and the Salmans were the other faction coming in.
Became Saudi Arabia's crown prince and de facto ruler in 2017. 3 months later, Saudi authorities began a series of wide-sweeping crackdowns. The first target was Salman al-Auda, a renowned Muslim scholar with a large social media following. In the early hours of September 10th, he was arrested from his home and accused of inciting people against the kingdom's rulers. Since then, dozens of professors, preachers, lawyers, women's rights activists, economists, business people, and journalists have been locked up as the crackdown grew wider. Al-Auda now faces the death penalty. He's become one of the faces of a group known as Saudi Arabia's Prisoners of Conscience. The September crackdown targeted a wide array of people and continued for months. The list included media personality Ali Al-Omari, cleric Awad Al-Qarni, journalist Fahad Al-Sunaidi, economist Isam Al-Zamal, women's rights activist Iman Al-Nafjan, and Lujayd Al-Hadlul. Some have since been released, some are still held without charge, and others have been handed heavy sentences. One of the most prominent figures in the crackdown was Salman al-Auda. He was seen by many as a leading voice for reform in Saudi Arabia and the Muslim world, who was no stranger to run-ins with the government. In the 1990s, the Qasim-born participated in 2 historic petitions addressed to the king that listed a number of demands to promote political participation. These included a call to establish a policy of shura, a representative council that oversees religious and social affairs in the kingdom.
So yeah, going after basically reformists, journalists, activists, anybody who could potentially question the legitimacy of the Saud kingdom, the monarchy. There were family members too, Saud family members that he went after as well. MBS's economic policies. He has initiated an economic reform policy, including diversifying the economy because they're just oil right now. They're trying to diversify. And they're doing this by enticing foreign investment. And of course, we know, thanks to neoliberalism, the way that you bring in foreign investment is you fucking privatize shit, privatize everything. That's what he's doing. He's opening up the country to foreigners too, and which is going to piss off the Wahhabists they've bombed Saudi Arabian government buildings and shit before. The Wahhabists have. People blame the extreme Wahhabists for pushing the Saud family so far to the right, basically. The claim is that the Sauds are in Saudi Arabia is so fundamentalist because of the Wahhabists pressuring the Saud family into doing so. Because they don't, they have all the restrictions on women. They don't have to wear burqas, but they have to be covered. I think their face can be uncovered, though, in Saudi Arabia. Bin Salman just recently allowed women to drive and also to travel, to get limited visas. Like, they're not allowed to just leave the country. He's also reopening movie theaters that were closed and allowing some small, like, women can go out in public now, I guess, without a man. And I think they're allowed to open a small business now as well. Like, they have granted some very small concessions to women, essentially. He's also selling off Aramco. He's selling off, privatizing parts of Aramco. And he's supposedly doing this to create a new sovereign wealth fund, supposedly. Who knows if he'll actually do it, but that's his excuse to privatize the state-run oil industry.
What, to, I guess, take the money for Saudi Arabia to build a fund for what?
Well, they have a sovereign wealth fund, but, it's used for whatever the fucking king wants to use it on. It's not used for social services.
Okay.
So Bin Salman has built some housing. That's basically all he's done, though. He's built some housing.
Yeah. They built those awesome islands out in the Gulf. Yeah, they built one series of islands that looks like the globe. So you have all the different continents represented. And then there's another one that looks like a palm tree, which I believe is one of the symbols of their country.
Are you sure that wasn't UAE that built those?
I don't know. Was it? I could be wrong.
I think it was UAE that built those.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, they're like a huge waste. Yeah, is this what you're talking about? Palm Islands.
Yes. Yes.
Off the coast of Dubai, UAE.
Okay. Okay.
It looks
never mind.
cool, but I mean,
Apparently, with the Palm Islands in particular, because of how they built it, they don't really get tidal flows up in between the palm fronds. So the water in there is just stagnant. And so there's all trash, and apparently it smells absolutely terrible because the water just doesn't, it can't wash out to sea and kind of clean those beaches off.
well, just from a logical and capitalist like investment point of view, you probably don't want to invest in something that's like low lying right now, like in the ocean. It's probably not a good.
In the ocean and made of sand.
You might as well just flush your fucking money, throw it in the ocean, because that's what you're doing here, buddies.
It does look cool though.
It looks cool, and people, I guarantee you, people are paying exorbitant amounts of money to rent these hotel rooms. He also initiated austerity measures in Saudi Arabia, primarily for state employees. They used to have like a lot of state employees, proportionally, and they've initiated a lot of cuts to the benefits of the state employees. He abolished flogging as official punishment by the government, and he
settle down, Bernie Sanders.
It's getting crazy. And he ended the death sentence for minors, which is good, I guess.
Progress is progress.
Baby steps,
Yeah.
So MBS, although he's a great reformer, as we just mentioned, ending flogging and whatnot, he is the architect of the war in Yemen, the worst humanitarian crisis in modern history. The war in Yemen I think they're in a ceasefire right now for the last couple months or so. And this is probably part of a ploy to negotiate with the United States, in my opinion. Yemen, what happened in Yemen, which is a country that is majority Shiite, the Shiites, the Houthis took over part of the country, and the Saudi Arabians and the United States, in cooperation, are basically destroying Yemen in an effort to prevent the Shiites from taking over Yemen, which, by rights, it's a majority Shiite country,
Yeah.
It's this proxy war that goes back to the days of the Soviet Union.
I was going to say, yeah, I mean, that's what it seems like, just proxy war to maintain control and maintain the hegemony of their particular ethno-religious group.
Well, they drew these lines after the Ottoman Empire fell. They drew these lines, but they don't want to give the Shiites fucking anything, man. They're constantly talking about how they hate the government of Iran, which, they're fundamentalists, but so is fucking Saudi Arabia's fundamentalists too. It's just they're allies with us. That's the difference. We're not allied with the Shiites. We're allied with the Sunnis.
Sunnis, yeah. Huh?
So yeah, MBS was the architect of the war in Yemen. Also, of course, the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. This was in response to that. The New York Times did a pretty good visual investigation on that. They have a bunch of footage where they basically, what happened was the Saudis sent a bunch of officials to Turkey to assassinate Khashoggi. They dismembered his body. And then some fucking random Saudi guy puts on his clothes and walks out to try and trick the cameras, whoever's watching the cameras, basically. But he does a piss poor job. He doesn't even get the shoes right.
It's insane that's going on in today's age.
The CIA actually leaked proof that the Saudi family was behind it not too long ago.
Really? Huh.
Probably as sort of a threat to MBS, I would say. It's probably sort of a, we know what you did, buddy, type deal. Because shit doesn't just leak from the CIA. They leak it on purpose.
Sure, yeah.
We're also stepping up our diplomacy to end the war in Yemen, a war which has created a humanitarian and strategic catastrophe. I've asked my Middle East team to ensure our support for the United Nations-led initiative to impose a ceasefire, open humanitarian challenge, and restore long dormant peace talks. This war has to end. And to underscore our commitment, we are ending all American support for offensive operations in the war in Yemen, including relevant arms sales.
Talking tough. No more U.S. drone strikes. Thanks, Joe Biden.
Yeah.
That was a year ago.
All offensive support.
I don't know what that means, but...
he doesn't either.
I mean, we were actively involved. I mean, our weapons were the ones bombing civilian. They bombed every hospital.
Yeah. It was kind of upsetting. Well, you would see photos every once in a while on Twitter or Reddit of some hospital or residential area that had been bombed, and it would be, U.S. made munitions that were scattered out on the ground.
Oh yeah, did you
from
see
having done it?
I don't know who did it, but somebody did a graph of Obama's drone strike campaign in Yemen. It's like he ramped up drone strikes worse.
Oh yeah. Obama goes hard. You don't know Obama like I do. He goes hard.
He hates Shiites. Hates them.
Well, everybody does. I think that's obvious by now.
Have you seen, it's the worst, potential famine, 40,000 people were at risk of starvation this year. This was, they do a report on this every year because this has been going on for 7 years, the war in Yemen.
Expected to travel to Saudi Arabia this month as Washington seeks to better its relations with Riyadh. This at a time when the Russian invasion of Ukraine has pushed the United States to prioritize geopolitics over its stand on human rights. While the visit is yet to be formally confirmed, according to reports, President Biden is expected to meet with Crown Prince. Reportedly, the stopover in Riyadh will be added to a previously scheduled trip to Israel, Germany, and Spain. Now, many see this visit as President Biden abandoning his campaign pledge to make Saudi Arabia a pariah for the murder of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi. Now, relations between the two countries have nosedived since the killing, and especially after U.S. intelligence concluded that Prince Mohammed himself had ordered the killing at a consulate in Istanbul. But in the
Biden has this famous statement where he says that he wants to make Saudi Arabia a pariah after the killing of Khashoggi. Apparently, he was informed that bin Salman was he was the one who gave the order, essentially. So he made this tough statement, but, a year later, he's meeting with bin Salman because he wants bin Salman to pump more oil to reduce the price of gas.
Yeah, that's how you get reelected. I mean, I guess that is that's his job as president, right? To make things as easy on us.
To get reelected?
Well, not to get reelected, but to make sure he keeps gas prices affordable, to make things as easy on citizens as he can, I guess. I mean, it's not how it works out, but
is it
that's
that big of a deal?
Look at it.
Do people care that much about the price of gas?
Hell yes, I do.
Why? How much do you drive, bro?
I don't drive hardly at all. It still kills me.
Quit driving a gigantic pickup truck, dude.
Oh, it was $120 to fill up my truck.
Oh my God. That's what everybody says. They always costs $75 to fill up my truck. That's what everybody I talk to says.
If I had a real job where I was actually having to drive to work, I'd be spending probably $500 a month or better on gas. Probably more than that. Probably $600 or $700.
Isn't the real problem that people are driving so much? Isn't that a problem to begin with?
Yeah, sure, and we should work on that. But in the meantime, I still gotta buy gas. I still gotta be able to pay bills. And if you're paying that much on gas, what else are you gonna do?
I guess.
What can you do? Yeah.
It doesn't seem like a major expense for most people. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just me. So we're basically Mohammed bin Salman's bitch, like the entire country of the United States, God's land here. We just do whatever he wants. He can kill journalists. We don't care. He can.
I mean, he can decide elections, legit.
That's true, huh?
I mean, I guarantee if you look up, the price of gas is going to be one of the number one issues for the election, or one of the number one issues that people have with Biden. Let's see.
So you're saying that there's a correlation between president's approval rating and gas prices. I would agree that. I don't know about election results, though. I think that's probably more ambiguous.
I have had multiple conversations with people where they have said, at least under Trump, the gas was cheap, and that they feel like it has something to do with that it's Biden's fault that gas is expensive right now, and it was Trump's doing that gas was cheap 4 years ago.
I mean, that's not true, but it could have been.
It's not true.
There's a world in which that is true, or that happened, because Trump and bin Salman, I mean, I have a clip. They're buddy because they're both fucking psychos. They're both wannabe dictators. I guess bin Salman is a legit dictator. Trump is almost dictator.
Trump wants to be one of the...
He got really close, man.
Some Saudi king.
Rudy Giuliani's just the fucking court jester.
Yeah, incidentally, I did find an article. The short answer is that there appears to be a connection between higher gas prices and low presidential approval.
Right. But the thing is, once the president's in there, he can tank his ratings. But he can't he can't put out a statement that says, if Trump wins, then I'm gonna lower the price. He can't do that. I mean, that'd be...
He could keep somebody from getting
reelected. He could do that. He could do that, but then you're getting assassinated. This is very shortly after the death of Jamal Khashoggi,
He's a dissident author, columnist for Middle East Eye and the Washington Post.
That was
and a manager and editor-in-chief at Al Arab News Channel.
He was also an American citizen, dual citizenship, United States citizen and Saudi. So they didn't he just didn't murder a Saudi journalist. He murdered an American citizen.
With the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, a friend of mine, a man who has really done things in the last 5 years in terms of opening up Saudi Arabia, and I think especially what you've done for women. I'm seeing what's happening. It's like a revolution in a very positive way, and I want to just thank you on behalf of a lot of people, and I want to congratulate you. You've done really a spectacular job. We've had some meetings on trade and economic development and on the military, of course, and the meetings have been really terrific. As you know, Saudi Arabia is a big purchaser of American products and especially of America military equipment. We make the best in the world by far, and we appreciate that they do. They create at least 1 million jobs are created by the purchases made by Saudi Arabia. So we're very happy to be with you. Great honor.
At least 1 million jobs?
There's so many things to dissect about this, but yeah, that's the funniest one.
At least 1 million. Saudi Arabia, at least 1 million jobs for arms manufacturers in the U.S. Fair enough.
At least 1 million jobs it creates. He's doing a great job.
Maybe 2. Maybe 2 million jobs.
Opening up the country to Trump Towers. For investment.
So let's break it. So we're almost 0.5% of the entire U.S. population is essentially employed by producing arms for Saudi Arabia.
Not just producing arms. Yeah, right. Fulfilling contracts for Saudi Arabia. Yes.
I have a feeling that that's maybe not exactly accurate.
He started a war just to provide American jobs. What do you think? What do you think about... Obviously, the Al Saud family is a fundamentalist regime, and it's dictatorial. It's an absolute monarchy. They have finally, in the last 30 years, instituted there's like a council now that they can give their opinion, but they have no authority. Mohammed bin Salman is he's the sole source of authority in the country of Saudi Arabia. He controls everything, controls Aramco, controls the entire Saudi Arabian military, which is like the second most advanced military in the region, behind Israel. But what do you think about the monarchy in general? This whole the idea that there's democratic pressures on Mohammed bin Salman, that he is more liberal than he would otherwise be if left to the rule of the people.
I don't know. I imagine he's not that liberal. He's in a rarefied position of power, and it seems like he is intent on maintaining that power. And you would probably I'm trying to put myself in the place of a king and imagine what arguments I would make about liberalizing or not liberalizing. I don't know. It seems like you start giving some bones to those lefties out there, and they just want more and more and more. And that's the problem with the left. They're never satisfied. So, one day they're wanting you to not kill kids, and you say, oh, okay, I'll stop publicly executing children. And then the next day they want free healthcare, and it never ends. It never ends. And, this guy, he's trying to run a country. He's getting calls every day from the CIA. They're trying to figure out where people talking trash are so he can go assassinate them. He's got a lot going on. He can't be dealing with a bunch of whiny liberals, not understanding hypotheticals, and he's having to explain stuff to them very literally. I don't know. I don't buy that he's that much more liberal.
There's no 36-year-olds that believe in fucking Allah or whatever religious bullshit.
I don't think. I'm sure he doesn't care personally, but what he cares about personally is a lot different than what he would intend to do on a national level. I don't think that there would be any reason to believe that he has intentions or has a desire to liberalize the country. His life is already liberalized, and I imagine he's pretty far removed from the common people and doesn't really feel their pain that much. As long as he gets a fresh supply of cocaine and American prostitutes brought to him, he could probably give a shit less. And there's relative peace in the streets. If you have an institution like this, a monarchy in modern day, your main concern is just maintaining power. It's not about setting up a better country for your people. It's maintaining power, maintaining peace, keeping everything calm for the international eye. I mean,
Well,
but in this situation, like what is anybody going to do? You know, I mean, the U.S. could cut him off from arms and cut him off from information or support, and then he'd, you know, I mean, obviously the big fear is that they just get a lot more buddy-buddy with China or Russia, or they form some other power center elsewhere.
Well, they're already, like, Saudi Arabia has been for a while now, like, playing the U.S. off of China, off of Russia. Like, when Joe Biden was talking about sanctions on Saudi Arabia, then he, like, the next day he went to meet with Putin.
Yeah. I think it was Crystal Ball. She'd done a segment that I'd caught about this, about Mohammed bin. Apparently, it had made a little bit of made the rounds. It somehow leaked out that Biden had this call set up with MBS after that whole issue, and he calls MBS, and like, dude just straight doesn't answer. Just ghosts him. Like a fat chick on Tinder. Nope, not answering.
Well, what I had read was that bin Salman had a conversation with Biden's Secretary of State, I believe, Blinken. And it wasn't Blinken, it was somebody else in the department. But they brought up Jamal Khashoggi, and bin Salman yelled at him, like shouted at him. And I mean, what do you do? What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Yeah.
Gas prices are going to go up if you talk too much shit, man.
He's a king, and I'm sure that I mean, his whole family, his whole dynasty is founded off of playing kind of the major powers off one another, right? I mean, this is what they're doing. They make deals with this major power. They make deals with that one. You know, in this scenario, well, I can get concessions from the U.S. by just calling up my buddy Putin. Just call him up, talk to him, and all of a sudden now the arms start flowing again, and everything's right with the world. Just the mere threat of cutting off that nozzle for oil worldwide. It's
Is it the oil, or is it like American pride with Iran? Like, couldn't we just ally with Iran instead of fucking Saudi Arabia? I mean,
I don't know. I think we should.
I know the revolution and like the invasion, the Iraqi invasion, like we support, you know.
Yeah,
but that's old shit, man.
That's a long, I agree, but that's a long-term process. I would love to see us normalize relations with Iran and start buying their oil and have them become a regular member of the international community. But I think there's a little bit of groundwork that needs to be done first, a little bit of bad blood.
We'd have to cut ties with Israel too, simultaneously, because Iran hates Israel. Like, we would never do that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maintaining the international order it's probably a really delicate balance. And, you know, if you're in a position of power, well, we can upset the apple cart. We can throw off our ties with Israel and Saudi Arabia and set up this new power center around Iran or some other country. But who's going to do that? Why would you even do it in the first place? You know, long term, it's going to make sense. But if you're just some random politician, you don't care about that. You want to maintain the order right now, which is exactly what MPS is wanting to do. I'm just going to maintain the order, maintain the status quo best I can, and try to keep things running.
Here's what I don't understand. Like, what's with the international trade bullshit? Like, the United States is the world's largest producer of oil. We produce enough oil for our own country.
Yeah.
But because of the way the international markets work, we import it and export it. It doesn't make any sense. And we're importing it and exporting it in fucking fuel tankers that run on diesel. We're killing the planet, dude. It's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
This is why we need one world government. We need the globalists to get in there and run this shit. I think Alex Jones is onto something.
Incidentally, Sam Harris argues for a one world government. I agree. I think ultimately it's going to have to come to that. We treat problems like Saudi Arabia, North Korea, just treat it as a crime problem. It's an international crime problem. You send in the peacekeepers, shut it down, and bring them back into the fold.
What's the argument against that? United States dominance over the UN. Why have any country have a veto? Why should any country have a veto on the Security Council?
I think the UN is just antiquated. Like, you would have to set up an entirely new institution if you're going to try to do a one world government. The UN's just not the place to do it.
Why?
But
you could alter it enough to be democratic.
Yeah, it's not about being democratic. There's no authority structure. I mean,
there's the Security Council.
The Security Council gets vetoed every single year by the U.S.
But if nobody has a veto,
so you just do it completely. What, majority rule, 2/3?
That would cause instant international war, wouldn't it? It'd be like World War III instantly.
Yeah.
Peacekeepers would go into fucking like North Korea or like Iran. Well, just give every country a nuke. Who was arguing for that the other day? Somebody was arguing. Tim Pool was arguing that everybody should have access to nuclear weapons. on principle.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you follow the argument to its logical conclusion, give everybody.
I would have to hear the argument for that.
Well, the argument is that the Second Amendment, freedom.
Yeah, but do you really trust some Rwandan with a nuke?
Why does it have to be a black guy?
I'm just saying. James, it's been fun, and I'll talk to you next week, buddy.
I'll talk to you later, man. Have a good one.
You too.
That's how they get you. They're under the goddamn